these people are already like the top 10% of American workers. I don't know how much I care. Like if their wages go down a little bit, well, by the way, the wages of lower income people are going to go up because the immigrants demand their services but don't compete with them on the job market. And like everyone else can get like cheaper services.
But not when a lot of that money isn't actually increasing the like the velocity of money. It's actually just leaving.
One, I think that probably like compensates for the brain drain India is receiving. It's not really how the balance of payments works, right? Like it has to come back at some point. Like
that's money that if an American worker had that money, they would be spending it in America, but they're spending that money in India with Indian dollars instead.
Well, but
understand that
U.S. dollars go to a currency exchanger, and then that currency exchanger now has dollars. Eventually, those dollars are spent in America because people can't spend dollars in India. If you're saying the money is leaving the economy, then how is it depreciating the value of the dollar domestically? Wouldn't it be deflationary, not inflationary?
Not making it in America means that more Mexicans will have jobs. Good jobs, by the way, but decent jobs. These are the jobs we tend to care about. And less Americans will have jobs.
No. Why does that? It doesn't mean that less Americans. Do you think it's less Americans have jobs if we start using like bulldozers instead of shovels?
Yes, actually.
If you want to see more content like this, I would really appreciate you liking and subscribing. It really helps with the algorithm. And make sure to check out the Discord and other social links in the description.
I wanted Nom Nom to defend the H-1B thing.
What about
in the Second Congo War, which hasn't even lasted 20 years yet, or no, it didn't even last 20, it lasted 5 years. 5 million people died in the Congo.
Damn.
So yeah, that's insane.
What do you want me to defend about? I haven't done all my reading on it, but like, I would say it's probably generally pretty good. Like, I don't see a reason why it would be
an increase in an increase. Like, you're for that. That seems like that's a good thing to you.
More 5 million ain't enough. We need a bigger number.
An increase in, I don't even know. I don't think it's even capped, right? H1B visas, I don't think are capped. I think as long as
we're talking about H1B.
But if it was, yes, increase would be probably good.
Thought you just
why would it be good?
Congolese.
That's the conversation. Is it that Trump is are increasing the amount?
Oh no, it does have a limit of 65,000 a year. I don't know. I don't feel like I don't see a reason not to like. I think it's so long as
jobs.
I mean, one like I think immigration in general is almost always a good thing, so long as like there are jobs available for them. And right now, I'm pretty sure there are more job vacancies than like unemployed people.
Really?
And then, like.
But we're talking about engineering jobs. We're talking about like programming jobs. Like look at the.
Well, I was just about to explain. I think those are probably
look at the 2024
better.
layoff. What?
High skilled immigration. It's probably like I don't see why that would be worse than low skill immigration.
Yeah. Do you think we shouldn't import people for low skilled jobs either? Or?
There's less of an impact on American workers or whatever. I think that a lot of jobs are created, although I don't necessarily defend it, but you know, there's a lot of people have maids, and there's a lot of farms that maybe exist that maybe wouldn't be able to exist.
Well, don't you have to have a job to get a H-1B visa?
Okay, but so the H-1B, we're talking about tech firms hiring. Like let's say engineers of the same caliber, but paying them less, and also they also have that's not true. You think the average the average computer science major out of India getting an H-1B is getting a comparable salary to an American?
No, they get paid more.
You think they get paid more?
Yeah.
You honestly believe there's just like not enough programmers?
Hold on, I have the study.
H-1B employers to pay the workers well below market wages is the most recent thing I just saw.
Fuck, I gotta find the study. God damn it, I have it, but.
Listen, minimizing wages to increase shareholder value is just based. I don't know what to tell you.
But like, I guess I don't see like even if they are getting paid lower, I don't know what the issue with that is, but.
They're definitely
he
getting
supports
paid
child
lower.
labor. You're not gonna get him to.
So the idea, what? The idea is that like so Americans are electing these officials that are coming in and increasing immigration for these skilled workers, but we have those skilled workers. They're just bringing them in only for the benefit of the big companies, and they're actually hurting Americans. They're
How is
Americans
that
that
hurting
aren't going to
Americans?
like significant amount of we're talking like a 1-for-1 here. We're talking like a 1-for-1.
Well, no,
Every additional, certainly every additional over like the 60,000 is going to be a fucking job that an American isn't getting. These are skilled fucking jobs. These are fucking.
Well, no,
programmers,
I mean, no,
engineering.
like, I mean, firstly, even if it is like 1-for-1, a job Americans aren't getting, like, you still benefit other people. That company benefits. They're able to be bigger. They're able to do more stuff.
Yes, the company benefits.
The company only exists because it benefits other people who buy their products. Like that, like that's a good thing.
No.
What do you mean? No, you don't think these companies benefit other people?
The companies will exist anyway. What?
Well, sure, but you allow them to do more stuff.
Profit. Google isn't short on fucking
you let them
capital.
do. They only
Neither
get
is
profit.
fucking
They only
Apple.
get profit because they benefit because people buy what they produce. Like, so if you let them get more
can't
profit, that implies you let other people consume more. Like there are other people benefiting from, like the added business production than just the business.
You
Everyone
can't
who
say that when they're doing fucking huge fucking layoffs.
Also, Nonfon,
Like-
yours is
What do you mean?
The one that you cited is from 2010. Here's one from 2020 that says the opposite.
does it. Well, this is the
Like, there's
EPI. Do they compare for
there's
the same things?
It shows that 60% of H-1B jobs are assigned wages levels below the local median wage. This can result in salaries 17 to 34% lower than the median salaries for those occupations.
Well, I think the one I'm
is
citing
common.
is only for IT, and it compares it for it like adjusts for the skills and everything.
True, but it's also like 15 years out of date. It might not be the most.
Well, maybe sure, but
I don't know though.
Year?
Listen, I'm not econ. I don't know when studies go out of date for econ. So if you believe like it's probably still relevant, probably is. You know more about this than me. I just don't know.
You have to be retarded to believe that.
Okay,
You could find
never
something that sort of like aligns with what you're saying because it quote unquote accounts for the right things or whatever. But
well,
the
it's
reason
controlling
why
for like comparable people. So like on average, H1Bs were probably paid lower, but like co-workers in the exact same sector, there probably is not a big difference between the native and the H1B worker. There's probably not a huge difference between people working the same job. Just one's an H1B and one's a native born worker.
again like this isn't. I think you're just like ignoring like the obvious reality of people. Like, you offer someone a job in India, you don't have to offer them as much, so why would you?
Well, because they can get a job in other, like, you can transfer your visa, right? It's hard, but you can do it. Like, workers do shift
Transferred
jobs,
where?
even H-1B workers.
Kind of, but I have heard before that these are kind of exploitative because you could get put in positions where like your job can kind of control like you being able to stay on the visa. Like it is pretty difficult to switch them over.
Well,
That's true.
that is an issue,
but
but I mean, you should
Yeah.
just make it
But
easier to
let's just-
transfer.
here,
But
let's
like,
just
even
not-
the
let's just act like that is
workers
true, Nonfon,
do
'cause,
face
like,
some
this-
level of competition.
I feel like it's a little bit slow. We just been here for like next 10 minutes already, but at this point, let's accept that point to be true, Nonfon. Do you think that like changes, like, do you change your entire opinion if they are being paid less, or like it's still defendable if they're being paid slightly less than the
No,
market?
I don't think it matters that much now.
Yeah,
because
so we
it's
should-
still
go to the
higher
next
than
thing.
they get. It's still higher
I
than
want to
they
make
get
this
paid.
video interesting, okay? I know this is gonna be a video. Okay, let's move to the next thing then. What's another reason then you can defend it?
Well, I mean, it
Is it
just
because
it lets
there is-
firms scale up. It lets. I mean, it's almost. I hesitate to say, like, by definition, but like, it's almost always going to be mutually beneficial between the company and the worker, because the worker wants to work there. They're immigrating to the U.S. to work there, and the company wants to hire them. So it clearly benefits the company, and then like other people are benefited from the company growing because. Again, like, the interactions between corporations and people are usually mutually beneficial. So like letting Google scale up and make a new product benefits other people. Like,
Also, isn't also a general point about this is that like for like I think it's up to your first like 20, maybe I think it's like 26 years. Like you're a net drain on society, and like using by like getting people through these visas. Like you're able to give a lot more value to society. Like
Yeah,
to, like, the
H1B
economy.
work. I don't have
Those
data on
first,
this,
like,
but I would imagine.
several years. I can.
Yeah.
I do in my notes. I can find it.
Oh wait, do you mean like relative to native-born people? Like yeah.
Yeah, like if we import people who are like educated, we're skipping the first like 20 years of them like being a drain on like
that's true. Yeah,
it's a very net positive.
No.
In that sense.
But yeah, but if you're not that's somewhat true for lower wage workers. But when you're importing people to replace American workers that we already have, they already went to college. And by the way, they're in debt. Forget about
right now.
Forget about like the societal fucking benefit of what not educating this.
Well, if I think it's a net benefit, then like if I think it's a net benefit for all society, but some people lose, like I get fucked. It like I don't like. Okay, we need a better tax system.
It's not the benefit for net.
Well, yeah, but I know, but like you're saying, like we already have people who are in debt. It's like, well, if I think the rest of society benefits and it just someone else loses out because they're in debt or whatever, like I get fucked. I don't know what to tell them. Like,
do you think?
I was just.
You can go. My bad.
Okay, I was just countering the point that somehow like society paid for like these Americans to go to college or whatever, but it was they paid for but let's not like they paid for themselves to go to college, and now they're in debt, and now they're somewhat, but not that much. Anyway.
Casey,
it's not just college. It's literally like for the first 18 years of a child's life, like the parents get tax credits. Like there's a ton of welfare involved for children. Education itself,
like actual benefit, not a drain. If I'm correct, I could be wrong though. That's what I remember.
I mean, public education K to 12 is, entirely subsidized. Right. Like.
Yeah, that's why I said it's more true for like lower wage immigrants than it is for like more educated immigrants.
Yeah, well, the same logic applies for low skilled people because like they come in and work jobs without being a drain on. If the Mexican immigrant comes here, they may have been a fiscal drain for Mexico for 20 years, but now they move here and can immediately start working. They don't have to go through our public education system. Like,
yes, that's why I said that it is true. That is true, but
yeah,
mostly
it's probably, but these people get paid. Like these people are more productive. H-1B visas are probably more productive than the average low-skill immigrant. Like,
wait, what? But yeah, we're not substituting. We're not saying more H-1B and less of like other immigrants or whatever.
Well, sure, but
we're
I'm saying
looking
like
at these H-1Bs
these people
within itself and
are probably more beneficial than low-skill immigrants because they're more productive.
I doubt that, but not when they're coming in and just taking the jobs of Americans that Americans would have, like more. They'll just be more unemployed Americans. And people and they'll drive and they're driving down the wages for those jobs, and we're talking about like career jobs or whatever. Like if there's ever any like protectionist policies that I would actually agree with, it's only those surrounding like the industries that create like a lot of like careers and lifelong jobs or whatever. And this is what we're talking about. These are the jobs that we're talking about.
Well, I don't think there's
thousands.
A ton of evidence for substitution that I just sent a 2024 study, okay, still relevant, not a 2010 one, found that companies who won the H-1B lottery didn't hire fewer H-1B like native workers. They conclude that lottery wins enable firms to scale up without generating large amounts of substitution away from native workers. This is a 2015 study, which, probably still holds. It found that companies that successfully hire more H-1B workers employ more skilled native-born workers than they did before. I don't think there's really much evidence for substitution. Bullshit? Okay. I think there's a ton of evidence for substitution.
Why would they? What sense does that make? Does that make sense to you? The more immigrants that they hired, the more skilled immigrants that they hired, the more native-born Americans they hired as well.
If they're able to scale up, then yeah.
I was about to say, I think it would be true for most companies. If they're able to hire more employees, they're probably able to even hire even more employees because they're obviously generating a profit.
But I'm sure they talk about some causal mechanism here, but... And then, well, the other, I mean, you might compress. You probably don't. I don't think you would, without an insane amount of H-1B workers, you would lower tech wages that much. But like I'm fine with conceding that there'll be some negative effect on the wages to tech workers. I just think that's offset by the gain to everyone else.
What gain?
In terms
What
of
does that
the new
mean?
products companies can make, and in terms of the cheaper services that people can now get. And also, you would actually, you hate inequality, right? We would actually see wage compression because we would reduce the wages of like non-college educated workers, but actually increased, or sorry, of college educated workers, but actually increase the wages of non-college educated workers because the immigrants who move here buy non-college educated worker services, but don't compete with them on the labor market.
Also, I also linked something. There's a study that shows that reducing the visas resulted in lower employment and wage growth for native-born Americans in the same market. So actually, we hired less people, even native, whenever we reduced the amount of H-1B visas that were granted.
I think
Oh,
that
yeah,
if you
this is
wanted
also- this is
to
another one
do
showing
a
that when you
quote-unquote
reduce
study
the,
showing that, then you could.
Well, here's
It
one
wouldn't be
causal
hard.
mechanism. When companies are prevented from hiring H-1B workers, they start investing in other countries instead. This is I just linked a study that shows that. So, like, that's clearly like a causal mechanism that's empirically observable that when companies are prevented from hiring immigrant workers, they just invest offshore.
That I think is actually true, but there is obviously a benefit of these companies to actually employ Americans, and there is some cost in whatever it is of having to go overseas to hire these people or whatever, as opposed to just bringing them in to replace American jobs. Like that, like because they want the H-1Bs, like that, you know, it's obviously cheaper for them to do that. But the idea is simply in the especially in the current market of widespread tech layoffs. Like, is this the fucking time that you want to increase the amount of skilled fucking jobs being taken? And another question, like what's the limit? Is there a limit in your mind, or is it just like fuck Americans, like just like bring all the people in? Is there ever
I
like
mean,
like
there's
where's
a
the
limit.
line? Where
I don't know
how,
where
yeah,
I.
how do you know? How do you
I don't know where
how do you
I
know
would
you're at
put
the
it.
limit?
Well, I think you know what? Here's the argument. Actually, I think the market knows better what the limit is, and we should have no limit and let the market figure it out. I don't like, as long as you can get a job to sponsor you, I'm fine with people coming over. Which, my understanding is that don't you have to have a job to sponsor you in order to get here with the H-1B visa?
What do you mean? You get hired as an
Yeah, you
H-1B.
get the visa.
Yeah, you need a job before you're eligible. So like, I honestly, if you have to have a job to get it, then like, I don't know if there is a limit that I would put, just because like, so long as the immigrants can get a job, they're probably a net benefit.
But what you're saying, Nonfon, is Trump is being based.
Well, I mean,
You know, you don't
only
need to
because
have a
Elon
job
Musk told him
already,
to, but
True, about.
but it's a job offer.
oh, job offer? Well, I mean, like,
I mean, that just makes sense.
I'm assuming that means you have it if you accept it, but yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna head out. Nonfon, stay safe. Casey, I haven't talked to you in like 6 months. Good talk.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Yeah. So again, like there's a time and a place. Like I'm not necessarily against immigration, or I'm not for immigration. It's just like show me like it being a problem or whatever, and like this is a fucking problem. That the reason, do you actually buy the idea that 60 whatever 5,000 like isn't enough, and for them to really get like that over that limit, like they're actually getting more skilled workers, like that they're getting better workers than exist today in the job market in America for these engineers and
We
and
don't
for
necessarily
these, like programming
have to
jobs. Do
be-
you buy that argument?
Not have to be strictly better, it just have to be substitute. They just have to be substitutable. But like, I mean, insofar as the market is demanding them, then like, yeah, I think we're probably better off if we have them here.
A market, no, companies always
Which make the labor market,
demand
yes.
employees they could hire for less. That's what the fucking market demands. It's fucking
Well,
cheaper
yeah,
labor all the time.
insofar
always.
as the market is demanding them, which if you want to define the markets as the companies that make the market up, fine, whatever. I think it's probably a net benefit to have them here.
All right. Well, let's get some slaves while we're at it then, I guess. But
Well, I don't think slaves are a net benefit.
well, fuck the
but-
minimum wage, or is the minimum wage a good thing?
I mean, minimum wage, we're not convinced has super negative effects on unemployment. So some small minimum wage is probably a fine thing, but like, I don't even think I would have minimum wage in my ideal society. But
Interesting. But back to the what the market demands or whatever. So the market will always demand cheaper labor.
yeah,
So why do you even
that
bring
means
it up?
cheaper
What is it?
services
It's just
for everyone
retarded.
else.
You're just being retarded. What do you?
Wait, I'm being retarded.
What the
How?
market demands? Well, what billionaires demand? Like, who gives a fuck? What
Because I think it
benefit- that
leads
doesn't mean-
to
that
I think
doesn't
it
mean
leads
what
to efficient
benefits
outcomes
Americans.
generally. How does cheap labor benefit America? Like, because people have cheaper services. What do you mean?
We're talking
allows
about
businesses to
replacing
expand
We're
easily.
talking about replacing American workers with cheaper labor immigrants.
That yes, cheaper services for people, easier business expansion.
Is your business expansion? Yeah, but what matters is like Americans and Americans having jobs. Sorry, Game Boy, that's off. Yeah,
Well, I think
Americans
everyone-
having jobs. Like
Well, no, I don't think Americans having jobs matter. I
supposedly
think
are
what matters is real consumption possibilities, and I think real consumption possibilities increases with.
possibilities.
Okay, I think real consumption possibilities increase with immigration and cheaper services.
I'm not talking about just we're talking about the very specific type of immigration. We're talking about
Right.
them coming in and one for one taking high skilled fucking American jobs, like the one for like the thing that whatever it is that like you would be for or whatever that you would say would like it's because it's for Americans, right? You care about what's good for American and Americans generally speaking, right?
Well,
That's what
I mean,
that's
not
what, that's
in,
what we
in
value.
a moral sense. Like, no, like I wouldn't like if it was two Americans or like one Chinese person, I would, or sorry, if it was the other way around, like two Chinese people and one American, I would save the two Chinese people over the one American. Like, I don't just care
Yeah,
about
well-
America, but
Yeah, especially when you get to the human rights part. But here we're talking about the American politicians put in office by Americans that are supposed to be doing good things for Americans, right?
well, yeah, I mean,
And
I still think this is a net benefit for America. Like, I'm
Open
just
borders.
not. I mean, I don't think entirely open borders would be a net benefit to America, but I think immigration generally is at some margin. Like, I'm not obviously if we imported 50 million people a year, yeah, you're probably gonna fuck some things up. But like, I'm fine with like 2 to 3 million people a year or whatever.
A little high for me, but again, like I don't think I don't think like the lower wage workers, like there's not it's at least not like so much of a one for one. Like there's a lot of jobs created like directly, not downstream, like not like some sort of trickle down fucking bullshit economic style, you know. Like there's
Right.
legitimate, like they're coming in and they're getting hired at jobs that like again like a lot of maids or whatever, and like that these jobs like just simply don't exist without these people or whatever. So I think that when you're importing people in like and just in to replace good paying jobs like that, I don't buy any like sort of downstream like reasoning or whatever, because
Well, there's
the thing-
obviously, I mean, obviously, cheap, even if I could see that's causing some level of lower wages in the tech sector, I still like that leads to cheaper services for what those tech companies produce. It leads to them being able to scale up easier. I think both of those things benefit everyone else.
or they'll just make more money, or they'll just pocket more money.
I think I'd probably choose the
There's a lot
American,
of liquidity
probably.
in tech.
I don't think it's that big of a deal, but
A couple years more so than now, but there's a lot of liquidity and there's a lot of like also a lot of like downsizing generally. Like that's the job market. It's already like looking more bleak than it had been
in
a
the
couple
tech
years
sector,
ago. Yeah, the tech sector.
I mean, I would agree in the tech sector, but a lot of that's because there was a huge positive demand shock during COVID, and then that's teetering off. I don't
Tech?
even
Positive demand shock for tech?
during COVID, yeah.
That's
But also, it doesn't
that
even
led
look.
to-
If you just look at layoffs in tech, it doesn't seem like they're that. When they're that, it's not like that huge of a jump or anything overall. And then it seems like most tech companies have basically the same amount of workers as they did in 2022. Like, there's small layoffs, but... And then across the entire industry, the line.
Intel has been downsizing.
But I mean, I don't see why it's not big of it. Like, if you already have to have a job offer to like go on the H-1B visa. So like clearly the companies are demanding their labor. Like, they want to hire the person. That's why they give them the job offer.
They want to hire the lower paid worker or whatever. What's the word for like the money that gets sent back to the countries that the workers are from?
Remittances.
Yeah, the highest remittance countries. I think India is in the top 3. It might be number 1.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
like
think-
a lot of this money is even getting shipped back to India. Like this
Wow.
idea that you know the irregular, like you're creating you're just increasing the jobs and blah 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 and the economy blah blah blah, but not when a lot of that money isn't actually increasing the like the velocity of money. It's actually just leaving.
Well, one, I think that probably like compensates for the brain drain India is receiving. It feels like if we're taking away India's most skilled people, they should at least be allowed to, send some money back. And like B,
Yeah,
the
it's
money
fair of them to
leaving
do
the
it.
country, it's not really how the balance of payments works, right? Like it has to come back at some point. like the dollars
Doesn't have to
are.
come back.
Well, like you can't really spend dollars in India. Like, you exchange the dollars for the Indian currency, and then that money either buys an American good or goes to America through investment through the financial account. Like,
You making the case that all money ends up as American money?
well, I'm saying American money can
Something-
really only be spent in America. So like, I'm saying the balance of payments has to
No.
equal 0. Like, money and money. Like,
No, American money, and then they
exchange
get
it,
rid of
though.
it, and they exchange it for
and then the person
Indian
who
money.
Well, yeah. So the one person has Indian money, and that other person who exchanged it for the Indian money now has American money, and that American money eventually gets spent in America.
What American? No, the sum. It's bad math. If the exchanger has 100 of each currency, and then the person who has the job has $10 in American, then they give it to the exchanger, and then the exchanger has 110 American dollars, 90 Indian dollars. The money.
Well, where else would the American dollars be spent? Like
Well, the idea is it's not being spent in the U.S. It's being spent in India.
no one in India, or I shouldn't say literally no one, but like most people in India don't accept dollars. They only accept rubles. I think they use rubles or Indian, whatever the Indian currency is. Like, usually you give your dollars to someone who exchanges money, who currently has Indian dollars, and they also have American dollars elsewhere, and they give you Indian dollars, and you now have Indian dollars, and they now have the American dollars. If they're a currency exchanger, likely they're going to give those American dollars to someone, who wants to exchange their currency for American dollars. But like at some point, those American dollars are spent in the U.S. because no one else can really pay with stuff for American dollars.
So if everyone just spent their money in India instead of America, that'd be fine.
Well, I think insofar as the market,
conversion.
I think it's still. I mean, the people
logic is
don't.
bad.
When you say spend dollars in India, you like the dollars go to a currency exchanger usually.
The need for Indian dollars goes up. Then the need for American dollars goes down. Right.
the demand. If everyone is spending
forget
their
about
money,
forget about like the finite amount of the dollar that exists or doesn't exist. Like, yeah, it's all about where it's being spent and also the amount of the dollar compared to how many people want the dollar. When we're paying workers that don't actually want the dollar. When we're paying workers and they're like, well, they would get rid of the currency immediately for this other currency. That's bad for the dollar.
Well, if we're talking about exchange rates, then like, sure, people sending their money overseas are going to depreciate exchange rates, but I don't think like 60,000 workers or whatever is going to have a huge effect on exchange rates. And like, two,
Well, hold on.
I don't know. I don't care that much if the dollar is moved a little bit by it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm fine with having the exchange rate
It won't
set
be
by
a
the
massive
market.
amount, but at the same time, it's not the literal nothing that you made it out to be. With the finite number of the dollars versus number of Indian dollars or whatever argument, like it does move the needle.
I mean,
Right.
how much? I can't imagine it's that big.
It's just a thing. It's just a thing. It's a point.
Okay.
That some of this money is actually not staying in America, like not moving around, not increasing the velocity of money, which is generally a good thing to have increased.
Well, it could not increase. I
Because-
just the characterization of it going overseas is a little annoying to me. But like, if we're saying it's just going to depreciate exchange rates, and like, I'm sure it would a little bit.
I think that's more like the real way that it ends up affecting things. But
What depreciated
But-
exchange
but-
rates? I mean, like, you're just gonna
well, you say
Make it
exchange rate. It's not
harder
just
to-
exchange rate. No, it's actually the dollar. It's depreciating the dollar.
in foreign markets, but not. I don't.
No,
Like-
just flatly, just fucking flatly. Instead of paying an American dollars for which they spend in the American economy, they're paying someone else the American dollar, which they get rid of because they don't
Well,
want it.
that-
So
that comes-
therefore, more.
The balance of payments like balances. Like, if you send over like money to your family, like I would imagine that's probably a deficit in the financial account, and it'll probably come back as a surplus in the current account. Because
Whose account?
dollars aren't spent in India. Dollars are spent in America.
I'm saying obviously you convert the money. You convert it. And
Well,
then you
yeah,
send it over.
exactly. You give it to like a currency.
So it's worse for America for people to get paid in American dollars and convert it to Indian and then send it away, and compare that to
Wait, it's worse for who?
paying someone in American dollars and for them to be spending the money in the American economy. One of these is better than the other one, correct? For the American economy, one of these
the
is
American
better, correct?
economy. Well,
For America
if money is
is what.
hold on. Is it worse for America if what our exchange rate depreciates a little bit? I'm not
Forget about the
convinced.
exchange rate. What I mean, but you keep saying the
Isn't
exchange
you
rate.
saying
but
that's
we're
the
talking about
negative effect it
it's
has?
really
It
just
de-
it's the value of the dollar.
In foreign
the
exchange
value-
markets.
One, it's the value of the dollar, and two, it's the velocity of money in America.
I don't know about the velocity. I don't know if I would consider the velocity effects necessarily negative. I think whatever the market determines velocity to be is probably the optimal level of velocity.
So your argument is that there's no fucking difference for the American economy whether people getting paid American money are converting it to Indian dollars and shipping it to India versus spending it in the American economy.
Well, because
Your
the
fucking
money,
argument
quote-unquote,
is that,
going to
that these
India-
are fucking equal and they're the same and it doesn't fucking matter for the American economy. There's no fucking difference.
Well, the money
your
going to
fucking
India
argument.
eventually comes back to
Use your
America.
brain on. No, it doesn't.
Well, the balance of payments has to equal zero, right? Like, we're not. Why can't I open Microsoft Paint?
We're not
dollars-
saying that the
aren't
total
spent in
amount
India.
of U.S. dollars in existence is changing in any way. We don't care about that. what ends up happening is the dollar is more people are trying to get rid of the dollar than are wanting to get the
No, I
dollar.
understand that depreciates exchange
relatively.
rates. Yeah, sure. But
You
that
say
helps
exchange rate
American
depreciates
exporters.
the dollar. No, stop. No, stop. It just depreciates the dollar. Forget about
I'm
the
not
exchange
convinced.
rate. It just
I'm
depreciates
pretty sure
the
when it
dollar.
in foreign exchange
You're
markets.
just
I don't think
you're
it.
just
I don't think it
couching it.
necessarily.
You're couching
I don't
it as
think it
exchange
necessarily
rates, but
entails a depreciation of the value of the dollar domestically, but in foreign exchange rates, it would.
not just foreign. It just flatly devalues the dollar.
I don't see how that
Less
I don't.
good for the American economy, and it's an insane argument to say anything else. Like, I'm sorry, just turn the brain
Well,
on.
first of all, I'm
Turn the
not even
brain on
convinced
for a
that
second.
depreciating the dollar is always a bad thing for the economy, but even if domestically. But second of all, why does it like typically like we define inflation as like MV equals PY or whatever? Like depreciating foreign exchange rates doesn't really have an effect on that.
About exchange rates, it doesn't. It's just generally speaking, the dollar's worth less.
But how does that? Okay, usually I don't know if we have like objections to MV equals PY, but that's usually how we like calculate inflation or whatever. That's usually what we say, the money supply times the velocity is equal to the price level times the income or whatever. Like I guess I don't see why dollars being. I guess if you think the dollars just like disappear once they go to India, I don't know why like
They don't disappear, but they
that would actually be
disappear from
deflationary. Wait, that would be what do you mean that depreciates? That would be deflationary. You're removing money from the American economy. How's that?
Like you pointed out, the actual amount of dollars isn't changing.
Well, if you're saying they go to India and they're gone now, like isn't that deflationary?
It's,
I don't.
converted into. It's
Yeah, and that
converted
money is
into
eventually like spent
rupees
in
or whatever.
America. Rubles, yeah.
Oh, no, it's not. What the money is eventually spent in America.
The dollars that are converted for rubles.
That's money that if an American worker had that money, they would say spending it in America, but they're spending that money in India with Indian dollars instead.
Well, but
Understand that.
U.S. dollars go to a currency exchanger, and then that currency exchanger now has dollars. Eventually, those dollars are spent in America because people can't spend dollars in India.
Yes, eventually all the dollars end up being spent or not spent. You track it long enough, eventually, yeah. But we don't care
eventually,
about
yep.
what we
Well, I
care
care.
about the generally people wanting the dollar a little bit less, or i.e. it's easier for people to get the dollar because more people are trying to get rid of it, or it's just the value just is going down, and meanwhile dollars being spent in America, but that i.e. the velocity of money. It's just like I don't think you don't need to be well read on economics to understand the idea that people being paid in America with American money and then shipping that overseas to be spent somewhere else, like that's not.
I
good
mean,
for
you don't
American
like
economy.
again spent somewhere else. Like you don't need to be that well read on economics to understand that balance of payments equals zero, and like it's weird to say the money is like quote unquote going overseas when eventually it's spent in America because the balance of payments has to balance.
No, it's literally
But,
being spent overseas. It's actually being
it's
spent
exchange for
overseas.
dollars that are then spent.
It's getting.
But the
it's
American
getting-
dollars are
it's-
spent in
it's-
the American
that's
economy.
increasing the Indian economy and at the cost of
Well, I
the
think
American economy.
No, I don't think it. Why is it zero sum? No, I think it can be mutually beneficial.
No, it is zero sum.
can't.
Either
Why is it? Why?
either the people getting paid the American dollars are either spending it in America, or they're spending it in India. It's one or the other.
Well, but it doesn't entail it being zero sum. I don't. Like India can benefit because it has it has remittances going back, and America can benefit because it has a tech worker that wouldn't have otherwise worked in American tech. Like
That's a different argument, but we're just talking about. But well, I would say you're adding. The other would add another layer to the argument, but just simply whether the money is being spent in America or whether it's leaving America and being spent elsewhere. Like it's just like a really simple idea that you don't need to have an economics degree to understand why
Because
that's
I don't
bad
think I think
for
it's
the
inaccurate to say
American economy.
spent in, because again the dollars are spent in America. The dollars stay in the foreign currency exchanger's vault. Okay,
So
and
I have
eventually
$1,000, and instead of like spending it at my local mall, you're saying that no matter what I do with that $1,000, like if I go to Japan and spend it but
Well,
I
you
exchange it
exchange-
first, and
Oh my
then
God,
and
okay.
then I buy something at a Japanese mall. You're saying it doesn't matter at all because of the American, because that dollars, if you track the dollar, that single dollar that got exchanged long enough, well, it'll eventually be spent or something. Like that's basically your argument, or that the amount of dollars doesn't actually change. Which
Yeah, my argument is that
Like-
it doesn't necessarily hurt the U.S. because the money isn't like really going overseas. Like this is here. Let me quote this. This is what Abraham Lincoln said about this. Okay. I don't know much about the tariff, but I do know that if I buy a coat, I have the coat and America has the money. If I buy a coat in England, I have the coat and England has the money. He was right. He did not know much about the tariff. If Lincoln buys the London coat he prefers, he cashes in some dollars for British pounds. So people in London now have dollars. Londoners do not give up pounds just to wallpaper their flats with greenbacks. The Londoner will either 1, buy an American product, or 2, trade in the dollar for pounds. If she buys an
why would the Londoner buy? Wait, sorry, finish that last sentence. Read that again. Sorry.
If she buys an American product, Lincoln is happy because he has the coat he preferred, and the Londoner is happy because she has the American good. If she dumps her dollars, she will dump them on someone else who wants to buy an American good. Like it would be financial account deficit to give my money to someone in India, and then that foreign currency provider who now has the currency gives it to someone who wants to buy an American good, and that counts as a current account surplus. Like the balance of payments balances. Don't know what to tell you.
It's not this. It's not equal. It doesn't equal out.
What,
the more people,
the financial
the
account
more
and
people,
wait. The financial account and current account don't balance out.
What we're talking about is having a person who actually who has American dollars that wants to convert that but wants Indian dollars. So what we're talking about is the amount of people who actually want American dollars that have it versus the people.
But now you're talking about depreciating exchange rates again. Like, I agree. You're probably going to depreciate exchange rates.
That is one of the two real ways where it affects things.
So it affects the exchange rate. I would agree with that. I don't think it affects it that majorly, but sure.
You say the exchange rates, but
well, I'm not. I don't understand. If you're saying the money is leaving the economy, then how is it how is it depreciating the value of the dollar domestically? Wouldn't it be deflationary, not inflationary?
But I said it was deflationary. It's
yeah, exactly. But if you're saying money is leaving the economy, I don't see how that would be inflationary and not deflationary.
Sorry. Wait. Sorry. Wait. It is inflationary. Sorry.
Okay.
It is inflationary.
Money leaving the economy is inflationary.
Correct.
Okay. How?
Less people want the American dollars.
But that's exchange rates, right? Why domestically is it inflationary?
Yes. Okay, yes, exchange rates.
Well, I agree. You would depreciate exchange rates if less people want the American dollar.
But I think exchange rates is like sort of like how you measure it. I think that's how, like the measuring. You can measure the devaluing as.
Well, that's devaluing in foreign exchange markets.
Exchange rates or whatever. Like this is sort of the lame way you're trying to phrase it, so it doesn't sound like a negative thing. Correct?
Well, I don't know if depreciating the value of the dollars in exchange market is hugely negative, but I guess I don't like. It's just when you say depreciate the value. that to me that implies you're saying domestically as well. To me, it's only in foreign exchange markets that like the value of the dollar, quote unquote, goes down.
Why is it the foreign exchange markets?
Because we're talking about foreign currency exchange. Because you're saying less people demand, or there's more supply the U.S. dollar.
It's not an American exchange market. Why is it foreign?
Well, because
Oh, sorry,
we're
that's just
talking
how you
about
call it.
currency exchanges. We're talking about Indians, or giving their dollars to some foreign currency exchanger, who then gives them Indian dollars in exchange. Like that has to do with that's the foreign exchange rate.
Fair. So yes, so the lower that your exchange
Also, yeah,
rate
Coven, okay.
is, like the less that value, the less of the value of that currency is.
In foreign
Right.
markets. Well,
Generally.
not necessarily domestically, but in
Yes.
foreign markets, yes.
Well, in foreign market, money, money that is not valued like the world over or whatever, then that very easily then people domestically need to pay more to pay
Import
more of their
things, sure.
dollar to get things. It has a very real effect. I think that you're trying to not confront by just saying exchange markets or whatever.
Well, I'm not convinced that the effect is that big, and two, even like the effect on exchange rates is big, and I'm not convinced that the effect of minorly depreciating the U.S. dollar is that negative. Like that would help our exports, which I don't think is necessarily bad. It would hurt our ability to import, which I don't think is good. But like,
I think that I would think it's just a very unserious argument from an unserious person who would think that the person who takes the money and ships it out of America to be spent in India, like this just this idea, like we could talk about how big
Well,
of
it's
impact it
mutually
actually is, or
beneficial.
how many workers we're actually talking about. No, it's actually like a truly retarded thing to say that it's mutually
it's really
beneficial.
not.
It absolutely is.
It's really not. One, again, like the balance of payments balances, buddy. The money doesn't quote unquote go overseas and is spent in India. It's exchanged, and eventually the dollar comes back through like buying an American good or whatever. But like, also, again, it's the
Why would
company
it
would
come
rather
back?
the person in India would rather work for the company. The company would rather hire the person in India. Like it's a mutual benefit. America can benefit because we have more tech workers, and India can benefit because they have more remittances, and that's money they otherwise wouldn't have because their workers aren't that productive.
Right. If you want to make the argument that it makes up for it for like having like their tech, the brain drain, or having the tech skill workers here or something that somehow makes up for it, like that's a different argument. But
Well,
I'm
I mean, I was just
asking
saying, like,
you
if we care about being fair to India or whatever, then I'm fine with them like sending remittances over because like they are experiencing some level of brain drain. So that's one reason I'm okay with remittances, and I guess the other reasons would be like, again, the balance of payment balances, like
what payment? What's being purchased?
balance of payment, the money flowing in and out of the country. Again, like dollars aren't spent in India; they're exchanged, and eventually those dollars flow back.
If half the people with American dollars, if half of the people wanted to get rid of the dollars and were getting or for exchanging them with foreign currency because they don't like the dollar for whatever reason, and then also spending the money in foreign markets,
Fuck
in
you,
overseas
Carter.
markets.
Type
like,
out turtle.
like you're
Well,
saying now that
I've already
that
said
that
it's going to
wouldn't
depreciate
matter.
exchange
That wouldn't
rates.
matter. I'm just okay. That's all you just like. That's all you.
Well,
how
that
you
would
wanna frame
majorly
it.
depreciate exchange rates,
Like-
which I think would be bad. But I'm not convinced the effect of tech workers sending remittances to India is going to depreciate the exchange rate enough for it to have a major negative impact.
Again, like that's a different argument. I'm just trying to get because you made a really stupid argument that I'm trying to confront you on. I think
Right.
that the other things that you're saying are fine. That maybe it won't affect it that much, or it won't hardly even be measurable if we're talking about like the 10,000 jobs or not or whatever, and that the Indian people like sort of makes sense like that they deserve to get that like the remittance money or whatever, that it sort of maybe levels out to some degree, but like these are other arguments or whatever, like, but I just don't like how you made a really bad incoherent fucking argument about
What
it
was
not
the-
mattering at all.
Well, my argument was that the money isn't really flowing overseas. I don't think I said it wouldn't matter at all if exchange rates depreciated. Like, there's going to be some minor effect. I don't actually know if that effect would necessarily be super negative, again, it would help U.S. exporters. So like maybe maybe we would see an increase in manufacturing jobs if the exchange rates depreciated, which I don't think would I mean, that might not be good in its own, but like I just don't. I don't know if the effects are hugely negative, even if it does depreciate exchange rates. And I don't think it's fair to say the money is like flowing overseas because it's eventually spent in the U.S.
No, it's not eventually spent.
I don't know what we've run through
There's
this.
there's not a thing that's being purchased that, you know, the thing that the American worker that's getting paid the American dollars that is spending it on an American thing, that's a thing that is being purchased, and the person sending it to India instead means that thing that the American worker the person sending the money to India isn't buying the thing that the American worker is buying. In fact, there's nothing in America that's being purchased
same thing.
to substitute for that. Right?
The dollar.
There's no exact substitute.
The dollars aren't spent.
you
You acknowledge the dollars are not spent in India, right? No one accepts it. I shouldn't say no one, but almost no one accepts the U.S. dollar in India,
first.
right?
Yes, you
Yes.
convert it.
Okay,
first.
so you convert it. So you recognize you go to a currency exchanger, right? And, you know, I think PayPal like does this. It does it, right? Like there's other people, but like when someone donates me British pounds, PayPal will give me dollars, and PayPal holds on to the British pounds. They're willing to give me some dollars if they get to keep the British pounds. That rate that they exchange it at is called the exchange rate, okay? So PayPal has the British pounds. Those British pounds are spent somewhere in Britain. They're not spent in America. They can only be spent in Britain. They either go to investment in Britain or they go to trade in Britain. And one of those is called the financial account. The other one is called the current account, and these balance out.
The idea that the money that is being exchanged for the foreign money, but that if you track that money long enough, it'll be spent or whatever. That doesn't make a dick. That doesn't matter, because whatever that thing that's getting spent on or whatever would be spent anyway. There's no increase in spending. In fact, in America,
Well, I'm not arguing there's an increase in spending. I'm just arguing there's no like net effect on.
No. Yes, there's a negative. There's less things being purchased in America. Yeah?
I don't think that necessarily. I mean, there could either be less things being bought or less investment, but I don't think it necessarily has to be one or the other, right? I don't think it follows that there's less spent.
The money the money isn't being spent on Subway in America. It's being spent at a deli in New Delhi.
Well, no, because again, that's the rubles that are being spent in India. The dollars are at some foreign currency exchanger. Eventually, someone is going to go to that foreign currency exchanger and say, "Hey, I'm willing to give you 100 rubles for $1," and then that $1 is spent on an American good that costs $1.
Yes, that's going to happen anyway, right? That's going to happen anyway. That has nothing to do with whether the worker is doing the Indian exchange or not, right?
Well, I agree that dollars. I agree the dollar is spent either way, whether it goes to an American worker who spends it in America, or whether it goes to an Indian worker, and then the money goes to a currency exchanger, and then eventually the currency exchanger spends that dollar in America. But I'm just arguing it doesn't really have a net effect on the amount of dollars being spent or invested.
Is it fucking what? How? Because there's not a Subway sandwich. There's no replacement for that Subway sandwich that's not being purchased. Correct?
I don't know.
And whatever that thing is that for that person
Subway.
B, that the person B comes along to the exchanger and ends up with the dollar anyway, or whatever. They were going to do that anyway. The thing they were going to do with the money or whatever, they were going to do that anyway. But in the situation where the Subway sandwich isn't being purchased, the exchange is whether the money at Subway
sandwich
or
example again,
the money is spent in Delhi. Yeah,
no,
the American
dollar.
worker getting paid American dollars is buying a Subway sandwich.
So I agree with that.
But the Indian workers, that money is being spent after being converted into it at Delhi in New Delhi.
Yeah, but what happens
there is no
to those dollars? Those dollars are...
What? Who cares?
Well, I care.
No. It's stupid, because whatever happens to that dollar...
Well, I care because there's a difference between money leaving our economy and money eventually coming back to our economy.
It doesn't matter if you track the dollar long enough, it eventually gets spent or whatever. That doesn't matter at all.
Okay.
Do you understand this concept?
No, I think it matters, but okay.
You don't understand that. You don't understand that.
I don't
there
see
is
if
no-
the dollar
that-
is being
yeah,
spent
we're
either way.
losing-
Then I don't.
We're losing the Subway sandwich purchase, and
Well, you
there
say
isn't
that-
a gain. There
Well, no,
isn't-
because
there's
I think there
nothing
is a
to gain
gain
from that.
in return.
What's the-
and that, I think that losing the Subway sandwich is netted out by the fact that the money spent on the Subway sandwich now goes to another American good or an American investment because the balance of payments equals 0.
Wait.
Or
What
and we
money-
get
wait,
an
wait,
Indian
wait,
tech worker.
What money? Forget
money-
about the tech. Forget about the tech. We're just on the economy.
Well, I think
we're
it
just
nets
only
out.
discussing. Well, yes, on the American economy, whether the money is spent in India or it's spent in America. Well, of course, with the conversion or whatever. Where are you making up for the Subway sandwich?
in the giving the money to the currency
For the
exchanger,
American
and eventually that money is spent on either American good or American investment.
Okay, hold on. But the thing that's getting spent would be spent anyway, right? Regardless.
Well, yeah,
of whether
again,
or
I
not the
agree.
Subway sandwich-
I've already
Right,
agreed with that like
That's-
5 times. It nets out.
So we know that that's happening anyway. So let me ask you again: where are we making up for the fucking Subway sandwich that's not being purchased?
When you say making up, again, I think it nets out. When you say make
You
up, I
say it
just mean,
nets
like,
out. I'm asking you where it balances out. How does it fucking balance out?
That's
Where's
how
the
it
fucking
balances,
balance?
because the
thing
dollar
that
is
you
still
bringing up-
spent.
No. The thing that you keep bringing up happens anyway. You
Well-
fucking idiot.
What do you? How exactly? That's why I'm saying it balances out because it happens either way.
It's the thing that you keep saying, oh, well, instead of the Subway sandwich, we have this other thing. But we'll have this other thing regardless. So it doesn't make sense when I'm asking
Again,
you,
I've never
what's
said
the
that like
benefit?
this.
What's the
is
purchase?
my position here is this dollar is spent either way, whether it goes to a currency exchanger for Indian dollars or whether it stays in America the whole time.
Okay. So if the money is spent on the Subway sandwich, okay, then the thing that you said where gets spent anyway, whatever that thing is on, would be spent anyway. Let's say it's a.
I don't
Big Mac.
disagree. I don't know why you
So wait.
disagree.
So we know the Big Mac is getting purchased anyway. So again, I keep asking you, how do we make up for the Subway sandwich? And you just keep bringing up the Big Mac, and I'm like, they're gonna buy the Big Mac anyway. How do we make up for the fucking Subway sandwich?
Wait, who are you saying is buying the Big Mac?
The person just like you refer to them as like an investor or something.
Like the
It's the
immigrant.
thing
Well,
that
if
the-
the
the
dollar
money- you
goes to
follow
the
the-
currency
you follow
exchanger,
the
the
money-
other, if that dollar is
Yes,
going to
the
the currency
currency exchanger.
exchanger, then it
And
can't be
ends up
spent on
buying
the.
yes. Then it ends up buying a Big Mac or something eventually, right?
Well, it has to be spent
That's
on.
the thing.
I'm confused. It can't be spent on both of them. I recognize that. I'm just saying, it doesn't. That doesn't matter. I'm confused. Again, either way, the same amount of like spending happens. Is what I'm saying.
You're saying that the money gets the exchanger ends up with the money, but then that money ends up getting
Eventually,
used
gets spent in
anyway.
America.
And I'm saying let's call that that's the Big Mac purchase. That's the
The
Big
money
Mac.
that gets spent in America is the Big Mac.
The money from the exchange.
The money. Okay, so the
exchange.
exchanger spends
It
money
ends
on the
up-
Big Mac, is what you're saying.
Someone ends up using the money for a Big Mac.
Okay.
But they were going to do that anyway.
Well,
Right?
I agree.
Regardless of
Again,
whether
I've
the
never-
Subway
the money is spent
Regardless
either
of whether
way.
the
I
Subway
agree.
sandwich is purchased. So,
Well, no,
okay,
because
so
if
we
they
are
use the money
losing
to buy the, if someone is using the money to buy the Big Mac, then they can't use the money to buy the Subway sandwich.
No, they'll just use another dollar because they just
Okay.
get right. But they're buying the Big Mac anyway, right?
They're buying what? What do you mean? They're buying the Big Mac anyway. The purchase of the Big Mac happens no matter what. Would be, if I'm following correctly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but we lost the purchase of the Subway sandwich.
Well, you lie if they're buying the Big Mac. You keep saying they would use a different dollar. I'm assuming. I don't know what. Like I'm assuming I'm assuming when we use these analogies, we're referring to like the total amount of dollars. Obviously, like the total. If someone is spending all their money on Big Macs and they can't spend all their money on Subway sandwiches, I'm assuming. I don't know what the point you're trying to get across is here.
We're just simplifying things with little
Right,
food
but then you pull out
analogies.
this other dollar. I would assume that the point of this is we're trying to capture everything. With this stupid model we drawn up, is we're trying to capture everything and not just.
You keep inferring that because the dollar gets spent anyway or something, that whatever that thing that is purchased or something, that somehow makes up for the loss of the purchase of the Subway sandwich. So I'm just turning it into a very real purchase
Yes.
that we can
When
acknowledge.
you say make up for the
anyway.
loss, what do you mean by make up for the loss?
I mean that's a negative. I think that purchase of the Subway sandwich for the American economy is bad. It's bad for Subway that they don't have them. They have less money. They're not. There's less. Yeah, it's bad for the American economy, right? The more Subway sandwiches that are purchased, basically, or you fill it in.
Well, when you say
actually
Subway
want to talk
sandwiches,
about.
like this is like, I think a purchase happens either way, at some or investment, because that's technically recorded in two different accounts.
For
I'm so.
that we lose the purchase of the Subway sandwich because the money's going to ends up in New Delhi buying a.
That's not
Delhi, right?
It goes to someone who is a currency exchanger. They give them Indian money because they have a vault of Indian money, and then the American dollars are eventually spent in America, or eventually used to buy an American investment or used to buy an American good.
The idea that money ends up doing something, it doesn't matter because that thing that's being done would be done anyway, right? That's the Big Mac.
Well, I agree. And that's out.
Anyway.
The money is spent either by an American or the money is spent by the currency exchanger. I've always agreed to this. Yes, either way, the money is spent. Either way, the money is spent. I've agreed it.
No one is saying that they're destroying U.S. dollars. That they're burning it. They're like literally destroying it. No one's saying.
Well, you're saying they're spent in another country.
Yes, the purchase is being made in India instead of the U.S. It's benefiting the Indian economy instead of the U.S. economy. It's going to an Indian business. It's helping support the Indian economy. It's not helping to support the American economy.
Well, I think it also helps the American economy. Hold on.
By not
I'm trying to
having a
find-
Subway sandwich being purchased.
Because the money is eventually spent anyway. Hold on. Remittances are recorded in a country's financial account. Okay. I'm pretty. I just want to make sure they are. I'm not going insane here. I'm pretty sure. Remittances are included in the country's financial account, which means by definition it has to come back through a current account surplus.
But
First extra paper covers a brief overview data concerning remittances.
multiply it by
Why?
1 billion. If it helps you think about it, 1 billion Subway sandwiches are not purchased in the U.S. Instead, the money is exchanged for Indian dollars, and 1 billion sandwiches are purchased in New Delhi.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure. The line item that broadly relates to remittances in a balanced payments framework are compensation of employees under income workers remittances. Yeah, so do you agree with the fact the current account surplus, current account and financial account have to balance out? Yes or no? They have to equal zero.
What are you doing? Why are you still peeing?
Of whom?
Of a country, any country, the balance of payments of an aggregate country.
What? Oh,
Yes,
my
they equal
God.
0.
Okay, great. So we agree if remittances are counted as a
Magna.
financial account deficit, that's going to have to increase the current account then, right?
But I don't care how it looks in some book somewhere.
Right, but that the implication of that is either way the money is like spent in the U.S.
No, it's not.
I don't see how you think that doesn't apply that.
Again, okay, I don't care what some book says. So what do we matter? What do we care about?
Okay, this is a
about
book of
how
all this book is all the dollars entering and exiting the U.S. economy.
Yeah, I never said that we are burning American dollars.
Yeah, okay, so the money is spent in the U.S. either way. You acknowledge that, right? The dollar is spent in the U.S. either way.
If you track the dollar long enough, yeah, it gets there. Because the Big Mac that it gets spent on would be purchased anyway. So we
Again-
have a Subway sandwich or a million Subway sandwiches that aren't being purchased and then are in that.
What do you mean aren't being the money, the same amount of dollars exist and are being spent on the same amount of things?
No, not the same amount of things.
How is it? It's the same amount of dollars. What do you mean? They're spent on the same dollar amount of things.
We lost the purchase
How do we lose?
of a Subway sandwich.
How do we lose? How do we lose the purchase of a Subway sandwich? What do you mean?
Of a Subway sandwich.
The dollars are spent on something else in America that equals the same amount as the Subway sandwich. I don't know what you're talking about.
If you track the fucking dollar long enough, it gets spent infinite amount of times. We don't fucking care what happens with the dollar eventually. We care about the things that are being purchased.
Okay, okay. We have a native citizen, right? He buys X amount of goods, okay? He has an income, he has a monthly income of $2,000. He buys 2,000 Subway sandwiches, okay? Great. Now we have an H-1B visa worker, okay? He has a monthly income of $2,000, okay? He can buy $2,000 worth of goods. If he sends some of his money over as remittances, okay? He may only spend, $1,000 on Subway sandwiches. So we quote unquote lose $1,000 on Subway sandwiches. But then guess what? That $1,000 that he gave to India actually goes to a currency exchanger. Eventually, that currency exchanger spends money on either $1,000 in Subway sandwiches or $1,000 in Big Macs or $1,000 on investing in Apple. Like,
the currency exchanger, like the argument you're making, like you could sort of devolve any argument into like, well, the money gets spent eventually or whatever.
Well, I'm just saying it's inaccurate to say.
Yes, the very real way that it ends up like being quantified or whatever is with the value of the dollar, because less people.
I already agreed. It's going to depreciate exchange rates to some extent.
Okay.
What you're saying,
you refuse to say it. Say the words devalue the dollar. You
in foreign exchange markets. It devalues the dollar in foreign exchange markets.
The dollar. Period.
It
Devalues.
It doesn't. When you say period, that implies like it doesn't necessarily increase CPI. It just devalues the dollar in foreign exchange markets.
It would show up on CPI probably, but simply just devalues the dollar, and you just keep
in foreign exchange. But no one said no. I don't know of any economist that says like depreciating the value of the US dollar in foreign exchange markets necessarily increases the price level domestically. I don't think that's the case. It may like change the relative price of imports, but it doesn't like
it does.
Well, I agree with that.
It does.
It increases
matter domestically eventually.
I'm pretty sure eventually in the long term, inflation is a monetary thing. It's not a exchange rate thing.
All right, I guess we don't care about like what companies spending money in America or doing anything in America because if they do it overseas anyways. Well, let's say they do it overseas anyways, or because all the money that they'll pay to whatever people in whatever country or whatever, they'll exchange that money first, and that money will get spent eventually, right?
One, yes, I love offshoring. Two, there's evidence that if you have H-1B workers, you don't offshore as much. So,
yeah, you're dodging the point of your argument being silly.
I love offshoring. I don't know what to tell you.
You love offshoring. You like just broadly, just generally.
Well, insofar as the market wants to offshore. Without major national
companies.
security
It's all about the
concerns,
companies. As far as the big tech companies are doing good, that's fine.
Well, I mean, people demand. I mean, like to some extent, it's companies using offshore, but like also people prefer to buy things from offshore.
Sometimes offshoring is good, and sometimes it's bad.
Incredible.
If you have no gauge for like, well, it could be bad in this scenario.
Well, I think it's bad insofar as it causes like major national security concerns. There are maybe a rare few other exceptions, but I mean, for the most part, I would say it's good. Yeah, insofar as it increases market efficiency. I don't see why I would say it's a bad thing.
That's what we care about, Parker. That we don't care about Americans.
Well, I mean, I care. Well, I think it helps the Americans.
By them having less jobs.
Well, no, I think it increases net jobs usually, but by them, one, having cheaper goods, and two, preventing deadweight loss because those domestic resources can be reallocated to other sectors.
Shipping jobs overseas increases jobs. That's what you're saying?
Well, yeah, because it increases jobs in other sectors, right?
Amazing. No, not necessarily.
Well, I shouldn't say necessarily, but typically those resources can be reallocated to more productive sectors where other people get jobs, right? Like,
instead of building cars in America, whatever company Ford is building them in Mexico. There's a bunch of people that don't have jobs.
Well, they'll probably get a job somewhere else, right? Like you.
That's the same failed logic with the dollar thing. Well, if you track it long enough, they'll have a job somewhere else or something. Overall on average, they'll have a job somewhere else, I guess.
Well, yeah, usually net jobs are increased, like
by shipping away jobs, net jobs for Americans.
Well, some jobs.
Again, that's what you're saying.
Well, yeah, because those domestic resources are able to produce something else, right?
The resources are being used to build the same amount of cars that were being built before, but
well, no, our domestic resources. You said the domestic resources aren't being used to produce cars. You just said there are a ton of people out of work. I don't know what you mean.
The same resources are being used to build the cars, but they're being built in Mexico.
Well, our domestic. I mean, they may be not our domestic resources. I don't know. Like it might be the same steel, but that steel was never domestic.
The company is only making so many cars, and them not making it in America means that more Mexicans will have jobs. And good jobs, by the way, but decent jobs. These are the jobs we tend to care about. And less Americans will have jobs.
No. Why does it doesn't mean less Americans? Do you think it's less Americans to have jobs if we start using like bulldozers instead of shovels?
Yes, actually. Like our farmers.
Okay, wait.
Require like one farmer for every like five farmers that is required for like a low tech.
So wait, if we're trying to increase jobs, we should mandate that instead of using bulldozers to build roads to level out roads, we should have people use shovels, and it would actually make more jobs if we use spoons instead of shovels.
Well, and I'm not making that. I'm not making.
Well, you just said it would.
Or not. No. But you're right that there would be more jobs.
Oh, okay.
Are you agreeing with me or not?
No, I disagree because of opportunity cost. Yeah. But those resources would otherwise go to other sectors that would create jobs there. Do you think the internet led to a net reduction in jobs?
Why would the internet lead to net reduction?
Because you automate certain functions. I mean, it made it a lot easier.
The
for
internet
people to...
created entire new markets and jobs that never existed. That is a brand new invention.
You don't think trade can do that too?
Trade?
Yeah. Like if we start trading with other countries and like it makes sense that a lot of other countries start like buying our exports and like we specialize in what we have a comparative advantage in and produce more stuff because now we're integrated into global markets. Like
the Ford company is only making so many cars.
Right, I've already said the car company.
It's retarded to track
really
the people and by the way, the jobs that they'll end up with because they don't have the jobs at the car company or whatever. Like the jobs that they're going to end up with are going to be less good. It's not like a bunch of people are available to be hired.
Productivity generally increases with trade and with all these other things, and that's highly correlated with average wages. So typically, workers actually get higher paying jobs when they lose their job because of trade or whatever. But like it doesn't follow this. Again, I agree. The car company's kaput. Okay, car company's gone. Okay, offshored, dead, get fucked. But there's other sectors who are made better by that because they now have resources that were previously being devoted to the car sector, and they can export.
Like what?
Like what? Like whatever inputs are used to make cars, they can now go to other sectors, and consumers have to pay less for cars, and they can afford to pay more for other things.
You said, or they're paying the same amount, and the company is just pocketing more. Why
Well,
why would you assume? Why would you assume that the reduced cost is being
because generally market
is reflected in
competition
price?
because generally market competition makes it well for imports that's almost necessarily true, but like because people wouldn't buy the import if they weren't any cheaper, but like or better in quality or some combination of the two. But like I mean like generally there's market competition that ensures companies can't get a ton of economic rents. But like with imports, people wouldn't buy imports unless they were cheaper.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
Okay.
I don't think the average person knows where even Ford makes their
Well, I
cars.
agree, but like the reason they're produced in Mexico or whatever is because it's cheaper to produce in Mexico, and that leads to a lower overall cost. Like,
Yes, it is cheaper to make the car.
yeah, and typically that results in lower costs because there's not a monopoly in the car industry, believe it or not. But
Okay, I guess get rid of all the jobs then, I guess, and we'll end up with more jobs and better jobs.
I mean, you see gains in other sectors typically. So like did it
I see.
decrease? Well, like yeah, did it decrease jobs when we started using planes instead of cars and started using cars instead of trains? Like,
These are inventions that created a bunch of jobs. Because they got rid of old jobs. We're not talking about that.
well,
We're talking.
I
We're
guess I
not
don't-
talking about an
I don't know.
invention. We're just talking about the same thing being built somewhere else. And
Well,
other people
I
having
don't. I
jobs
mean,
instead
they're
of
both like
people
productivity,
here
like
having jobs.
enhancing. They're both productivity. I don't see a huge difference between. It's just a trade. It's just a type of technology that lets
You
us
don't see a
produce more
difference?
with less. I mean, not really.
You
Like it
don't
doesn't like.
see any difference.
Well, yeah. Do you want me
Entirely
to?
different fucking things.
I don't see a major difference when it comes to the domestic country. I mean, I'll explain with the Iowa car crop. Ever heard of this? Okay. There are two ways to produce a car in America, right? Either you can produce them in Detroit or you can grow them in Iowa. Everyone knows about the first way. Let me tell you about the second. First, you plant seeds, which are the raw materials from which automobiles are constructed. You wait a few months until wheat appears, then you harvest the wheat, load it onto ships, and sail the ships eastward into the Pacific Ocean. After a few months, the ships reappear with Toyotas on them. International trade is nothing but a form of technology. The fact that there is a place called Japan with people and factories is quite irrelevant to America's well-being. To analyze trade policies, we might as well assume Japan is a giant machine with mysterious inner workings that converts wheat into cars. Any policy designed to favor the first American technology over the second is a policy designed to favor American auto producers in Detroit over American auto producers in Iowa. Like, I don't think that one's that different when it comes to the domestic benefit of a country. They're both productivity enhancing. Actually, they both
I think-
increase real incomes too, and typically increased real incomes is associated with stronger job growth. So
I think the car example is better than like the programmer thing. But it's still stupid just to assume that you're by taking away jobs, you're just going to like, oh, eventually there will be other jobs.
well, I think
Especially 'cause
typically
when-
it
when
leads to
A
net.
does not.
I think typically it leads to net job increases. I haven't seen any case. I haven't seen any empirical evidence that suggests that like tariffs have ever helped net jobs. So like I'm inclined to think that trade almost always helps net jobs. There might be theoretical situations where it doesn't help net jobs because of like the relative labor intensiveness of industries, but it's almost always a net benefit. So
Yep, but it's not just jobs. It's like, especially when we're getting rid of good jobs, we're getting rid of career jobs. Like this is like the end goal is like having more of these things, and like you're just
well,
like
no.
you're gonna wreck them and there's no like real like one for one like, oh, what by
Well, I don't.
getting
Well,
rid of these
you're not
good
really.
paying
I mean, you're
jobs.
no. I mean, you're increasing a country's average productivity, and average productivity is associated with their wages. So you increased wages, and then two, I care more about real consumption possibilities than jobs, and I think trade basically mechanistically increases real consumption possibilities.
The car thing is the programming thing is even worse because it's almost like, well, instead of shipping the whole thing to Mexico, we're gonna have Mexicans come in here and take your jobs, and not just in our factory, but across the U.S. All car manufacturers are now have the ability to hire these very cheap Mexican workers to replace their good paying jobs with these low paying Mexican workers. So a lot of people getting fired and unclear as to exactly where they get hired. And also the idea that, yeah, that especially in the tech, by the way, where yeah, it's not exactly not a lot of market forces generally being at play. The idea that these companies are obviously they have one thing in mind, and it's not to fucking not to make like their products like cheaper for consumers to purchase. They have one thing in mind. It always ends up that's their only one goal is to get more profit.
I
And
agree.
cheaper
Generally.
workers cheaper workers is sometimes just like the last thing that they do, right? Like especially when yeah, it's just like, well, it's sort of like the end game. It's like, well, why are we paying these people like this much when we could pay these other people this much less and be making this much more? Like you can't just assume that
Well,
like it'll be like, oh, well, they'll lower it, everything will be cheaper or whatever. Especially not again.
typically lower labor cost is going to result in cheaper prices. Like unless there's extreme monopolies, which I like. There might be some rent seeking
Basically
in
what
the
we're
tech
talking about.
sector, but like I don't think that really. I don't know how much it applies for most companies. I don't know. I don't know.
And you do this enough, you lower all of the wages enough, and I think the overall like what's the economy
I mean,
doing
Google is
overall
ads, but like
really
it
matters too. Like
doesn't cost
there's
anything to use
I
Google,
don't tech
and you can
companies
let
aren't
them more
expanding,
tech
and
workers let them like
I'm
scale
sure
up.
there's a lot of instances I'm not thinking about of downsizing besides Intel's very large downsizing, but like that's what's going on in the tech world. It's downsizing.
I mean, I already sent you. They're just not downsizing. Some companies might be doing layoffs, but like, it doesn't look like they're. It doesn't look like they're having huge like downsizing. Well, most of these companies
Intel
have
is
more workers than they
hugely
did in.
downsizing.
Oh well, Intel, yeah, but most tech companies seem to have more workers than they did in 2023. Meta doesn't. But like overall, the tech sector. Again, I'm sure they're doing more layoffs now, just because there was a
Meta
positive
probably
demand shock
And-
in 2020 2020 and like 2021, but
regardless of what's happened in 4 years, or like the outlook on tech jobs is worse. It's harder to get tech jobs. So we're going to pay these foreign people we're going to pay them to come and take jobs that are already being done. And like I don't know, this you could basically excuse anything if you boil it down to trickle down bullshit. Like,
yeah,
oh, well,
trickle
things will get
down
cheaper and everything will be fine or whatever. Meanwhile, yeah, like the middle class keeps shrinking, and
That's not true
and
either, but okay.
you think the middle class is shrinking?
Well, sorry, the middle class is, but a large part that's because people are going to upper. I don't in upper classes. I don't think it's I don't think it's people are getting like poorer on net. But regardless, I don't think it's trickle down bullshit to assume that lower labor costs typically leads to savings for other people. B, like obviously, I think it's mutually beneficial. The company prefers to hire the foreign worker, maybe because they're cheaper, maybe because they have skills that they can't get from American workers, maybe because they need more workers than the domestic market can provide. And the foreigner prefers to work for the company because the company pays him more money than he could get, more money than he can get if he worked in India. So like I think it's probably mutually beneficial, and does not seem to have major negative externalities.
the externalities are a bunch. It's tech workers and engineers getting paid less.
Thanks for the sub. I
And
appreciate it.
getting,
Archie.
it's
Thank you.
getting harder to find a job. It's a very
I mean,
real
I think
fucking
it's-
quote externality. It's a very real and fucking. It's very.
I don't know what your
very
issue with calling it an
immediate.
externality is, but I mean, I would agree you're probably going to decrease tech wages to some extent, but like these people are already like the top 10% of American workers. I don't know how much I care. Like if their wages go down a little bit, well, by the way, the wages of lower income people are going to go up because the immigrants demand their services but don't compete with them on the job market. And like everyone else can get like cheaper services because the tech works labor or you know it's cheaper for tech companies to expand.
So
and
all the money saved or whatever is just none of
well,
it's
it's not necessarily
none of it
all.
is profits. Well, not all.
Well, not necessarily all, but like I don't think all of it is economic rents either. Like,
You think the U.S. government should like cap salaries for not executives or whatever?
cap
That'd be a good
salaries for
thing for the
non-executives.
economy. Yeah. Like if you're a
No, I don't
programmer,
see-
you
I
can't
don't
get
see a
paid more
need
than
to.
100,000. Would that be
No, I
great?
don't-
That would
I
be
don't
fucking
see-
excellent for
I don't
Americans,
see a
right?
need to do that. No,
Would that be good?
no, I don't see
You're not
a
for
reason
that?
why that would be a net benefit. No.
You don't see. Well, the tech companies will be able to do all the things a lot cheaper.
Well, yeah, but in one
It'll
case,
benefit everyone.
we
It'll
have the
benefit
market.
everyone.
Well, in one case,
Oh,
you're letting
wow.
the market determine the wage. In the other case, you're letting the government determine the wage. I think the government has information problems, which make it hard for the government to, determine to determine the
Yeah, but-
proper wage.
But who said that this market or whatever was was a global market or whatever? Like, because we are talking about the Fed making rules or changing rules. They are regulating these foreign workers, and to some extent like affecting the jobs and how much they get paid.
Well, sure. Well, that's because we think they're at some margin the negative externalities from importing these foreign workers gets too high. So we try to regulate it. There's probably some regulations for the visa that I don't even like, but
And when is enough?
I don't know the exact number. But again, I mean, I've already said this. Like, so long as you can find a job and you have to have a job offer to get it, I don't even know if I would say there's a point where it becomes negative if you have to have a job offer to get
Yeah,
it.
well, they'll make the job offer and then they'll fire someone else that they're paying more. So what?
I don't
what does that
know
make?
if there's
What sense
evidence
does
of
that
that
make?
happening, but like if that does happen, like again, I
Why
don't know.
wouldn't it
I don't know. I
happen?
don't know if the like negative cost to like the top 10% of workers outweighs the benefit to
We're
everyone
not
else.
talking about the top 10%. I think it's
You don't
like
think tech
probably,
workers are like the top
25
10% of workers?
25%. I mean, I think we're talking about like mid-level programmers, like
Okay.
100,000 to maybe 150,000 salary or something around there.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just don't think that, even if it's top 20%, I don't think the like cost, which again, relatively small cost, I don't think you're majorly depressing wages. I don't think there's evidence to that effect, is going to outweigh the benefits to everyone else.
What is our benefit? Is the Twitter subscription, is that going to be lower? Or
well, no, but Twitter's probably going to, well,
Metaverse
prices-
is going to be cheaper.
well, they might delay increasing it, or they might expand more into, they might offer more services. They might lay off less employees. Like,
Lay off less employees.
well, if they have to pay people
by
if
importing
if they have to pay people less, then like what?
Are they capped on cash?
Are they what?
Is there a liquidity issue among tech companies
I don't know.
that you're aware of? Like,
I
for
don't know.
me, it's like you're going
not-
to do something that's going to negatively affect in a very real, an immediate way, like real fucking jobs that Americans have. Like show me why this is needed. Like show me why it's needed.
Why
And
what's needed?
there's only fucking signs of like the opposite. There's only signs of like this being not needed.
Of
like
what
there's only signs
specifically?
of like
Of what? Of
like the
importing
signs
these workers?
in the Yeah, show me.
I mean,
show
like,
me like show
The
me
fact that companies want to hire them, the fact that they want to work here.
they always want to hire cheaper people. Why wouldn't they?
Well,
And it comes down.
I
And it
think
comes
that's-
down. It comes down to American politicians fucking Americans. Just for the benefit of fucking tech, fucking corporate, fucking douches. Just the biggest tech companies, like the benefit of the tech companies and their owners. We're gonna fuck American fucking workers.
Right. Okay.
what it-
Hold on. You acknowledge that if we import these tech workers or whatever, they don't compete with low income like non-skilled American labor, right?
Correct.
But they do demand their services. They buy stuff at the
Okay.
grocery store, so you would acknowledge they're probably helping those low income people, right?
I would say helping, but to some marginal degree.
Okay. So
Well,
it seems
I don't-
like they're benefiting.
yeah.
You agree the corporation is benefiting.
I do agree on that. Yes.
Okay. You agree the Indian worker is benefiting.
Yes.
So it seems like the person losing here is like some high skilled tech workers. I just don't know if I have an issue with that for the benefit of all those other people.
We've been telling people like for 20 years to learn to code, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you learned to code? Sorry, bro. This bro from India learned to code too, and he'll.
Well, I don't. How many times have I said like, yeah,
less
like
than you will.
get fucked. Like if it's a net benefit for everyone else, get fucked. I don't know what to tell you. Like if
I
your
don't think
argument,
it's not
if
the
it's
net
like.
benefit.
If it's like kill one person or kill 10 people, like yeah, I'm telling the one person to get fucked. I'm sorry, bro. Like,
All right, but this is something they're doing. You can just repeat that fucking experiment over and over again. Just fucking like, oh, like, oh, would you just kill one person and the other 10 people are benefiting or whatever? You just go ahead and repeat that fucking experiment as many times as you want, basically. But yeah,
mhm.
okay. I think we've said all things. Unless you wanted to end on something.
I don't. Okay. I just. Okay. Okay. You don't think it's a net benefit because tech workers are being harmed, and the only other people who benefit are the rich corporations.
The large percentage of benefits will go to the corporations and the shareholders, owners.
And that the corporations are not at all reflective of what people demand.
You saying them doing good is not
I mean they,
reflective?
I would
Or-
say like generally a corporation can like only get profit insofar as it serves the demand consumers have. And like
I don't
you
understand
think
the point.
my point is that like it's not when corporations profiting, like if I don't know why we would think this is a bad thing if corporations really only profit by like serving what the public demands. What's up, Corpse?
They're profiting, and the cost is actual American career type jobs. Like that's the trade off. And
Why-
in real career type jobs getting lower wages than they would have.
You're depressing tech worker wages. I've already agreed with this to some extent.
Yes, so that's the cost, and the benefit is to some,
I would say the benefit is one to the Indian
don't
worker,
need any
two the
help,
corporation,
by
and
the way.
three probably the public via all the cheaper services and added business expansion.
What service? What services?
Google, Twitter. All the tech
shit.
companies.
Oh yeah, the Twitter. You think the blue check's gonna cost less or what?
Well, again, they might
Nonfon.
delay. What's up?
Gonna bet on that?
I was told to come here. First of
To-
all, to save you from talking to a retarded VTuber.
Okay.
But second of all, I've been told to debate you.
If you want to chat with me live, sub here or go to Nonfon420 on Twitch or Kick via the links below. Once again, please like and sub to help with the algorithm, and consider sending a donation through YouTube Super Thanks to directly support me, and I'll make sure to reply to any question you ask. See you guys next time.